we have this webinar classes. So requesting all of you to log in and take this opportunity. So today, as part of the ANBAI webinar series and being an national academic coordinator for ANBAI, it's my pleasure, and I thank all the ANBAI board members for giving me an opportunity to speak on ECG. And I also thank my moderator, Dr. Muralidhar Kanchi sir, who is our academic coordinator, academic director in Narayan Vidyalaya. Thank you, sir. So I have made these slides in view so that it will be suitable for all our residents who are present across the country. Utilize it, and we will share the PowerPoint through our ANBAI coordinator, Mr. Anthony, and you can drop in your mail IDs. They will share it to you. Okay. So with this, we will continue with the current class and see what best we can do. So what are we going to learn today? We are going to learn about the ECG basics, how each and every part of the ECG is linked to our heart, and then how to analyze a rhythm and look into normal sinus rhythm, heart arrhythmias a little bit, and then advanced 12-lead interpretation. So these things we'll be covering. Of course, the diagnosing a myocardial infarction is a separate part which we'll be doing in some other class. So we all should understand how the conduction system, cardiac conduction system happens. This is the most basic thing which we have to know, and we have been studying this from our MBBS days. You all know it is a four-chamber right, left atrium, right and left ventricles, and then we should know the normal impulse conduction. Always an impulse is conducted through various parts, and it always starts with the sinoatrial node, that is the SA node, and then goes to the AV node, and then to the bundle of His, and then to the bundle branches and to the Purkinje fibers. So this is how we all know that the normal impulse which has been conducted, and accordingly we can coordinate with the ECG pattern also. So you can see the P waves, it is generated between the SA node to AV node. So whenever it is there from the SA node to AV node, you can see the P wave is being generated. So this is the fundamental thing which we have to understand. ECG is very, very easy when you keep on interpreting every day. And in your any examination, this is the most important thing which most of the examiners will be asking you. So from the SA node to the AV node, we all know it is the P wave. So that means that whatever the rhythm abnormalities are there in the right atrium is being depicted into the P wave. So that is the basic thing which we have to understand. Whenever there is an abnormality in the P wave, that means that there is an issue in the atrium, that is between the SA node, AV node, and the bundle of His. So that determines for the P wave. Now coming to the P wave, after the P wave, Q, R, and S. That is the one which has been conducted from bundle of His up to the Purkinje fibers. That gives you the whole idea that the QRS complex is being produced by this. So atrial depolarization, ventricular depolarization. So atrial depolarization is P wave, ventricular depolarization is QRS complex, and then it goes on further. So the atrial depolarization, QRS complex is ventricular depolarization, and T wave is ventricular repolarization. So we all understood now. So any issues with the atrium, it is depicted on T wave. Any issues with the ventricular, it is always depicted onto the QRS complexes. If you note these 2 points, it is very easy to interpret any type of an ECG in any hospital. So now we all know that an ECG paper is there, but we don't know what it determines on the ECG. You can see that this whole square which is coming here, this whole square depicts here. So this whole square represents 0.2 seconds. Why this is very important is when you're going into the ECG, you will be knowing that is the PR interval or the QRS interval or QT interval. All these things are calculated based on these small boxes or the large box. So 0.2 seconds is the full box, and when it comes to small box each, it is 0.04 seconds. So 0.04 into 5 is 0.2 seconds. So the whole box is equal to 0.2 seconds, and the ECG length is about 5 millimeters or half a millivolt. So that is how it depicts. So you can keep this in your mind, and then you can calculate the PQ interval, PR interval, or QT interval, whatever intervals you want, because these are the basics which we have to understand. Based on this, your treatment pattern continues. So we all know that the ECG paper runs at a speed, and 50 millimeters or whatever the speed is being set at, it will be running. But what we are important is we have to calculate a 6-second rhythm strip. That is what is important for us. You can see here, this is the whole 6 seconds rhythm strip. And whenever you see a rhythm strip like this, then it will be easy for you to note the number of P waves or number of R waves or whatever waves you want, and then you can calculate. Also, you can calculate the heart rate roughly using these ECGs by this way. So every 3 seconds will be 15 large boxes is marked on the vertical line. So every 6 seconds, that means that you will get 30 large boxes, which will help you to calculate the heart rate. So most of the ECGs which I'll be showing will be of a 6 seconds strips. That is 30 large boxes, which you are going to see in each and every ECG which I am going to put you. So this is what is a base. That is SA node, AV node, bundle of his, then branches, then Purkinje fibers. P wave means atrium, QRS complex means ventricles. Broadly, you can keep this in your mind. P wave is atrial depolarization, QRS complex is ventricular depolarization, and T wave is ventricular repolarization. So this broad thing we should not forget any time. So whenever you're looking into an ECG, you have to look into please mute yourself. So when you see an ECG, you have to make sure these 5 steps. When you look into these 5 steps, you will never forget or do any mistake when you are looking into an ECG. So first is always calculation of the heart rate. Second is looking to the regularity. Third is look into the P waves, then PR interval, lastly QRS duration. So please remember, every ECG, every rhythm which I'll be showing you will be running in 5 full cycles. That is what we are supposed to look in for. First is calculating the heart rate. Second is looking into the regularity. Third is assessing the P wave. Fourth is look into the PR interval. Fifth is look into the QRS durations. So please make this as a habit in your routine rounds. When you're looking into an ECG, then when you see these 5 things, and you can write the whether this is a normal sinus rhythm or an abnormal rhythm. So that itself will make your life very, very easy in your hospital, wherever you're working for, and also in your exams. When you get such a rhythm and you say that, okay, sir, this rhythm is, the heart rate is so much, it is regular or irregular, looking into the P wave, the examiner will also be happy with you. And that is how you can impress him upon. So now how do we calculate the heart rate? It is very simple. I told you this is the 6 seconds. So 6 into 10 is 60 seconds. That's what we all wanted. So you look into the 6 seconds, that is 30 large boxes. How many P waves or how many R waves are there? R waves are the better one because it's peaked one. So you'll calculate number of R waves into 10. That will give your heart rate. So how many R waves are present? So you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and almost it is reaching to the 10th one. So you have this 6-second rhythm. It is showing 9. So into 10, it will give you 90 beats per minute. So that is how you can calculate the heart rate very, very easily. Even if you don't forget if you forget this also, no problem. When you look into this ECG and then calculate the number of R waves into 10, simplest way you can say that this patient's heart rate is 90 beats per minute. Now there is another way of calculating the heart rate. So you can calculate in this way also. So start the R wave here and then look into where the next R wave is. So this is another simplest pattern. If you don't have a 6-second slip or no problem at all, you can just look into this. Look into the first R wave where it is. If the second R wave is coming within the next box itself, that means that the heart rate is 300. If it falls into the second box, it is 150. If it is falling into the third box, it is 100. Fourth box is 75. Fifth is 60. And sixth is 50. So this is how you can calculate the heart rate based on the ECG which you are going to see. So I hope this is the simplest way we can learn how to calculate the heart rate when you're given a strip of a when you're being given a strip of ECG. So because that lays your basic foundation. So this is how you should never forget it. You can keep this in your mind. Once you see it, you can never forget for your lifetime. So now based on that, we'll see how much it is. This is the peak R wave which I have asked you to calculate. So it is not falling into the first one. So it is not 300. It is not in the second one. It is not 150. It is not in the third one. It is not 100, but it is falling within the fourth one. So it is between 75 to 100. So roughly what we had said is the correct one, that is approximately 95 beats per minute. So that is what is the heart rate of the given patient one. So ensure that whenever you see the ECG, look into like this, you will never miss out to calculate the heart rate. So hope everybody have understood. Now, if you have any questions, I will take it in the end. You can put it into the chat box. We will surely answer your questions at the end of this class. Now, the second one is determining the regularity. How do you determine the regularity? It's simple. You see here between one R wave to other R wave, how many squares are there? 1, 2, and 3. So look into the second one, 1, 2, and 3. So look into the 6 seconds, whether all the R waves are going in a straight way between 3 large squares. That means that, okay, this particular rhythm is regular. The RR interval is going regularly. So this is how you can simply say that, okay, the heart rate was 95 beats or 90 beats per minute. The regularity is regular here. What are the 4 types? What we see, whether it will be regular, it will be occasionally irregular, or regularly irregular, or irregularly irregular. Only these 4 things can happen with any patient given to us. So determining the regularity is the second step. Now the third step, look into the P waves. So every P wave should be followed by R wave, or every T wave is it followed by T wave. You can see here one by one. Okay, everything is on track. So that means that you're seeing into all the P waves, and whether it is looking all alike, yes, it is looking all alike. And whether it is in a regular and is it followed by QRS complexes, yes, it is followed by every P wave is followed by QRS complex. That means that it is normal. This is the third step. The fourth step is looking into the PR interval. So I told you the first slide. So you have to look into how many small squares are there from the start of the P wave to the end of the P wave or starting of the R wave. So here you can just calculate how many squares are there. Approximately 1, 2, 3, and 3.5 or 4. So normally the PR interval is between 3 small square to 5 small squares. That is 0.12. 0.04 into 3 is 0.12. 0.04 into 5 is 0.20. I don't want to calculate all those things. Simple is 3 to 5 boxes. That is what is important. So I told you, see here 1, 2, and 3. 3 small squares into 0.04, it will give you 0.12 second. So this person's PR interval is 0.12 second. Now the next one is your QRS duration. So you can look into the start of the QRS and then the S wave. So here, so how many squares are there? There is approximately 2 squares. So the normal QRS duration is 0.04, that is within one box or up to maximum of 3 small boxes. So that will give you 0.08 seconds. Here it is approximately 2 small squares. That means that 0.04 into 2, that is 0.08 seconds. So now you have looked into, first is heart rate, second is PR interval, first is heart rate, second is regularity, third is looking at the P wave, fourth is your QRS complexes. So now coming to the whole, to put it in the rate is approximately 90 to 95 beats per minute. Whether it is regular, yes, it is regular. P waves are normal. PR interval is within 3 small squares, so it is 0.12 second. QRS duration is 2 small boxes, it is 0.08 seconds. So this is how you can simply say that how much is the how to read an ECG in the simplest way. So whether this is normal or abnormal, so this is interpreted as normal sinus rhythm. So this is the simplest way you can determine ECG. So if you put in this 5 points which I have told and look into this one, you can never miss out any ECG. Now, a little bit about the arrhythmias. I'm not going into every arrhythmia, which all we know, but a simple arrhythmias which is important for your day-to-day practice. I'm not going into saying that, okay, this is what we have to know, this is what. At least we should know that whether the abnormalities in the P wave or the abnormalities in the QRS complexes. When you find this out, then it will be the easiest way. So where all can the arrhythmia form? There are re-entry arrhythmias, entry arrhythmias, all these things. But for us, we know that the rhythm is starting in the SA node, going to AV node, then so on and so forth. So it can arise because of sinus node, atrial node, AV junction, or ventricular cells. So these 4 points it can stop. So it can be divided into 2 parts. One is supraventricular, other one is below it, that is the ventricular. So these are the 2 things which we can have in our mind. So now we'll go one by one. So what is the heart rate here? Can anybody put in the chat box so that it will be easy for us to interact a little bit? How much is the heart rate? There are approximately about 1, 2, and 3 R waves. So into 10, that's approximately 30 beats per minute. So it would be nice if you keep on looking and put it into the chat box, so it will be easier. Are you looking into the regularity? See, between this R and this R, is it going regularly? Yes, it is going regularly. Then look into the P waves. So 1, 2, and 3 P waves, they are all seen. And whether the P is followed by QRS complexes? Yes, it is followed. So what is the PR interval here? It is approximately 1, 2, and 3. So it is again 3 into 0.04. That gives you 0.12 second. So look into the QRS durations. Here is the Q and here is the S. There is approximately 2 small boxes. So 2 small box into 0.04 will give you approximately 0.1 second. So it's within 2 small boxes. That means that it is 0.1 second. So what is your interpretation here looking into this particular ECG? Please don't mark onto the slides. It may not look this one for others. So this is a sinus bradycardia. Very good. So this is how we have to interpret an ECG. Now here, what is the heart rate? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there are 13 R waves in the 6 seconds. So 13 into 10 is approximately 130. Very good, 130. Whether it is all going in regular manner, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, so it is all going in the regular fashion. And whether you're seeing the P waves, yes, you're looking into the P waves. Whether it is normal or abnormal, every P wave is followed by QRS complexes. So there is no problem in it. Now look into the PR interval. So how much is the PR interval? Again, it is approximately about 2 or 3 small boxes. You see here the onset of P wave 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 small boxes. So it is 0.04 into 4, that is 0.16 second. So the QRS duration, you look into here, how much is the QRS duration? 1 or approximately 2. So here it starts at the Q wave and here is the S wave. There are 2 small boxes here. So 0.08 seconds. So what is your diagnosis? Sinus tachycardia. Already somebody has answered. Very good. It's a sinus tachycardia. Now we'll look into here. What is the heart rate here? 2, 4, 6, 7. So the heart rate is 70 beats per minute. So whether it is going regularly, it's not regular, no, it's looking very irregular, or sometimes regular and sometimes irregular. So it is occasionally irregular. Only one here it is irregular and here it is irregular. So this is how you can make it out. Now look into the P wave. Look into the P wave. You can find a P wave here. Here I am unable to see. You can see here. You can see here. You can see here. You can see here, but not here. So at 2 places, it is not looking properly. So 2 out of 7 is of different contour. So 2 out of 7 is different contour. Now what is the PR interval? PR interval is approximately wherever the P wave and the R wave are generated. You can see it is between 3 to 4 boxes. Here 1, 2, 3, and before the 4th box it is appearing. That is 0.14 seconds. So the PR interval is 0.14 second. Except for these two, you are unable to look into the PR interval because there is no PR. And what is the QRS interval? Wherever it has been produced, again see here, this is the Q wave here, and this is within 2 boxes, small boxes. It is 0.08 seconds. So the interpretation here is, most of them have already given their answer. Very good. It is a normal sinus rhythm. Along with the problem is with the P wave, you are unable to see the P wave. So there is premature atrial contractions. So you can see here, this is premature atrial contractions. In these two things, you're looking into the atrium and it is produced in the atrial cells. Very good. Okay. So we'll go to the next one. So look here. What is the heart rate here? 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So the heart rate here is 100 beats per minute. So whether it is regular, I'm not able to see it here. This is 3 squares. This is 2. Again, this is going to 3.5. Here it is 4. It is 3. Again, here it is 1.5. So it is not at all irregular. It is irregularly irregular. That is the pattern given here. Now, whether the P waves are seen, I'm unable to see the P waves. Are you able to see the P waves here? No, you cannot see the P waves and it is not looking normal at all. So the P waves are not seen. So when the P waves are not seen, you cannot say there is about the PR interval. So there is no PR interval. Look into the QRS duration. What is the QRS duration here? It's approximately 1 and 1.5 or 2. So it is approximately 1.5. So it is 1.5 into 0.04, that is 0.06 seconds. Now interpretation, most of you have given correctly, atrial fibrillation. So look into the P wave here. It is looking as a fibrillatory wave. The P wave is looking like a fibrillatory wave. That is the reason, and it is very irregular. The simplest way to diagnose a atrial fibrillation is just you have to concentrate onto the monitor. The monitor will be giving a sound, kick, 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 kick. So it will not be a normal sound which is there. It will be giving abnormal sounds and it will be very irregular. With that itself, you can say whether this patient is having atrial fibrillation or not. The simplest way to diagnose atrial fibrillation. Now, what is the heart rate here? So the heart rate is, there are 7 R waves here, and the into 10 is 70 beats per minute. So whether it is regular or irregular, almost it is looking like a regular RR interval. So because here you are not able to see any irregularity. Are you seeing the P waves? Anybody is seeing the P wave? I don't think so. We are able to see the P waves. P waves are not looking normal. It is looking many waves here. One, two, three, four. All like a sawtooth appearance, what we call as. So all of you are aware of this. So the when the P waves are not found properly, it is looking as a flutter waves. The PR interval cannot be seen into. Now, can you determine the QRS duration? Almost you can look into the Q is here and the S wave is here. The QRS duration, again, it is less than 2 small box. It's approximately 0.06 seconds. So what is the rhythm here? What is your interpretation here? Anybody? So there is a flutter P wave and the heart rate is going on. Very good. This is a atrial flutter. So this is how. Did you see how easy it is for you to diagnose when you go in a stepwise manner? Please practice this. You can never forget the ECG in your lifetime. So this is atrial flutter. Now here, what is the rate? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So there are 11 waves. Here, initially it was between 1, 2, 3, and 4. That means that 300, 150, 100, 75. Less than 75, but more than 50. So it is 74 beats per minute. Now when you come here, it is within two small big boxes, 1 and 2. So this this is 300 and here it is 150. So it is just lesser than 150 because it is crossing beyond the second box here. You can see here it is just onto the second box or just behind the second box. So this rate is starting at 74 beats per minute and then ending up at 148 beats per minute. Whether it is regular or irregular, so here also it is regular, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here also it is regular. Class, online class. I'll call you. So it is regular here also and continuing to be regular even when the heart rate is going up from 74 to 148. Whether you can see the P waves, here you are able to see here 1, 2, and 3, 4. Here also you are able to see, but here you are unable to see the P waves. Am I correct? So here it is going from normal to none. Whenever there is a PR interval, it is within normal. You can see here 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 4 into 0.04, that is 0.16 seconds. Then here you are unable to see the PR interval. So it is becoming from 0.16 to none. So you are able to see the PR interval in some cases, and then you are unable to see the PR interval. So that is how you are able to say. Now what is the QRS duration? It is about 1 and 2. It is less than 8. So it is 2 small squares between the QRS complexes, that is approximately 0.08 seconds. Now what is your interpretation? Some of them said sinus tachycardia, some of them are saying SVT. So it is paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. This is paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. That is the simplest way you can say. Whenever you are in doubt, you can put it as supraventricular or paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. You will see how an SVT also looks in the further slide. Now, what are you supposed to do? A little bit about clinical this one also. Whenever you see such rhythms, you have to act fast when you're there. Let it be in your emergency department or your non-emergency department. You have to look into the patient, whether the patient is airway is stable, unstable, breathing is taking a normal breathing or not. Look into his heart rate, look into his blood pressure, and connect him to the cardiac monitor, which is very important. When you monitor all these things, also look into the oxygen levels of the patients. After looking into these things, you should also look for the reversible causes. So whether the patient is stable or unstable. If it is stable, you can go with the medical line of management. If the patient is unstable, then the patient requires shock. So when do you say the patient is unstable? When a patient is having chest pain, ongoing chest pain, he's having signs of shock, his blood pressure is low, he's having a cold, clammy skin. So all these things are there. Then immediately you can say that this patient is having unstable signs. So once the patient is unstable, what you have to do, if you are not able to give the shock, then raise a code. Either you can raise for the RRT team, rapid response team, if you are in the hospital, or even the code blue team you can raise upon. So once you raise this one, what happens is they will get the defibrillator and they will start performing something called as electrical cardioversion. What is electrical cardioversion? It is synchronized cardioversion, because if you don't stabilize this patient until here, this patient will become unstable and sometimes going for death also. So there are two types of cardioversion. One is your electrical cardioversion, second is your chemical cardioversion. Electrical cardioversion is giving a shock, chemical cardioversion is giving medications. Normally used medications are amiodarone, lidocaine. That is the one which we use normally. So in your crash cards, you should make sure that you're keeping this one along with your defibrillation. So now what should we do? We have to give, if a patient is unstable, we have to give synchronized cardioversion. Please obtain an IV line, explain to the patient what you are going to do, stabilize the patient, inform him and take a consent, and then if there is hair on the chest, you have to remove it either by shave or you can just put the pads and you can pluck it off. So this is how you can take off the hair. Now, where are the indications? Normal indications are ventricular tachycardia with pulse, atrial fibrillation, atrial flutter. I will show you ventricular tachycardia in my next slide. So atrial fibrillation and atrial flutter are these two things which you have already seen. If you see them and the patient is unstable, you should give a synchronized cardioversion. How do I give a synchronized cardioversion? In the defibrillation, there is a button called as synchronization. If you press that one, immediately the shock will be delivered only at the tip of the R wave. It will not be delivered anywhere else. Why this is important? Because if you deliver the shock in any other time, this patient can become cardiac arrest because you're not giving the shock at the right time. You're not giving. So that is very, very important. At the peak of the ventricular depolarization only, you are supposed to deliver the shock if it is for synchronized cardioversion. If you're giving a defibrillation, that is entirely different, but here you're going to give cardioversion. So this is a little bit about atrial rhythm changes. Now we'll look into the normal bradycardia rhythms, which is very commonly seen in our day-to-day practice or even in your residency. There are only 4 types of AV nodal blocks, that is atrioventricular nodal blocks. That is first degree, second degree type 1, second degree type 2, and third degree AV blocks. So these are the 4 things which we commonly see. So what happens here? First, you calculate the heart rate. It's approximately 6. So it is 60 beats per minute. Whether it is regular or irregular? Is it regular or irregular? So it is regular. Whether you are seeing the P waves? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you're seeing the P waves regularly. So it is normal. What is the PR interval? You can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's almost going up to 9. See here, this is the P wave. This is the peak of the R wave. So here is the start of the R wave. So when you look here, it is approximately 9 small box. 9 into 0.04 is 0.36 seconds. The normal PR interval is 0.2. So it is more than it. That means that the PR interval is prolonged. Now, what is the QRS duration? Is it changing? 1, 2. It's not changing. So it is 0.08 seconds. So here the problem is the P waves are normal, but PR interval is increased. Everybody are correct. It is the first degree AV block. So this is how you can remember how to depict an ECG. So here the PR interval is prolonged. That is why you are seeing it. And whenever there is a PR prolongation, only PR prolongation, and you are able to see all the P waves followed by the QRS complexes, it is first degree AV block. Now, see here, this is approximately 5 R waves are there. It is 50 beats per minute. Whether it is regular or irregular, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it is not. So it is not going regularly. The regularity is irregular, sometimes regular, sometimes irregular. The P waves, are you seeing the P waves? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are one P wave is missing. So whenever the PR interval is there, are you seeing it? PR interval is continuously progressive prolongation. Very good. So PR interval is prolonging, and then there is a drop beat. In between, it's normal here. You see here the PR interval. It's prolonging here. It is prolonging more. Then you get a drop beat. After this P wave, there is no QRS complex. So this is how you can keep in your mind about the PR interval here. Now look into the QRS complex. It's about 2 small boxes. It is 2 small boxes. So the QRS duration is 0.08 seconds. So interpretation, everybody approach it. This is second degree AV block type 1. So this is how you can keep in your mind how it looks. The first degree heart block, PR is prolonged. Second degree type 1, PR is normal, increase, and suddenly there is a drop. So this is how you can keep in your mind. Now, here, what is the heart rate? It is 4 R waves are there. It's 40 beats per minute. So look into the regularity, whether it is looking regular or not. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's regular. The RR interval is regular. P waves, is it regular or irregular? Very good. There is a fixed one, P waves, and fixed this one, but there is a mixed bit. The PR interval, wherever the P wave is there, followed by the QRS complexes, it is there. But sometimes the P wave is not followed by the QRS complexes. So 2 of the 3 doesn't have QRS complexes. So this is how you can keep in your mind. Now PR interval, whenever the P is followed by QRS complex, you can see that it is within 3 to 4 small boxes. That is 0.14 seconds. 3:1. Good. Look into the QRS complexes. It is almost looking within 2 small boxes. That is 0.08 seconds. Now, what is your interpretation here? What is your interpretation for this particular ECG? Regular P waves, whenever it is followed by QRS complex, it is there, and number of P is not equal to number of QRS complexes. So this is what is the one which you are seeing, and this is not third degree, it is second degree type 2 block. Second degree type 2 block. Okay, so type 1 is PR prolongation, type 2 PR is there, increases, then drops. Then what about type 2, the second degree? P wave and QRS complexes are there. Whenever P wave is followed by QRS complex, the PR interval remains constant. That is very, very important for you to remember. Whenever P waves are followed by QRS complexes, the duration is normal and you can make it out, and the rhythm is regular. So these two things, if you keep in your mind, you can never miss out between the second degree type 1 and second degree type 2. Now, this one heart rate is 440 per minute. So whether it is regular or irregular, it looks regular. P waves. Are you seeing the P waves? Yes, the P waves are present. Sometimes it is merging here. So the P waves are present, but it is not equal, or it is not following by the QRS complexes. There is no relationship between P waves and QRS complex. Very good. So no relation. PR interval, when there is no relation, there is no PR interval at all. Now look into the QRS complex. What is the QRS duration? It looks more, no? So 1, 2, 3. So the QRS complexes are wide in nature because it is more than 3 small boxes. So the QRS complex is wide in nature. So this is third degree AV block or complete hot block also we can say. So this is how you can keep in your mind AV block 1, type 2, type 1, type 2 and third degree AV blocks. So all the 4 you have to keep in your mind. PR prolongation, PR will be normal, increased, drop. Then P followed by QRS complex will be normal. And in the third degree, there is no relationship between P wave and the QRS complexes. Now here, what is the heart rate? So it is within beyond one large square, but within second large square. It's approximately between 150 to 200. So it is about 160 beats per minute. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. 16 into 10 is 160 beats per minute. Regularity, is it regular or irregular? It's regular. Can you see the P waves? No, I'm unable to see the P waves. When there is no P wave, there is no PR interval also. Are you looking into the QRS complexes? Yes, we look into the QRS complex. It's approximately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 into 0.04 is more than 0.12 seconds. That means that the QRS complexes are being affected. So whenever there is an issue with QRS complex, you should always keep in your mind it is because of the ventricles, and the rate is more than what is normal for a ventricular rhythm. So that is ventricular tachycardia. So wide QRS complexes with the rate of 160 beats per minute, it is ventricular tachycardia. Now here, can you calculate the heart rate? No, you can't calculate the heart rate. Is it regular? No, it is not regular. It is irregularly irregular. Are you seeing the P waves? No, I cannot see the P waves. So when there is no P wave, there is no PR interval. Are you seeing the QRS complexes? Yes, we see the QRS complexes occasionally, and it is beyond the QRS complex. You can see it is more than 3 small squares. That means that it is wide. So it is ventricular fibrillation, as all of you have mentioned. So whenever you see this rhythm onto the monitor, you are not supposed to look into the rhythm at all or the heart rate. you should directly shock the patient. That is very, very important. So this patient has ventricular fibrillation. Now, whenever there is ventricular fibrillation on or ventricular tachycardia, which you are unable to see the pulse, that means that there is no other choice but to shock the patient. If the patient is stable, like ventricular tachycardia, and he is stable, then you can go ahead and give the patient with medications. Now, ventricular tachycardia has two types. One is monomorphic, other one is polymorphic. It can be biventricular or tri or four or anything. It can happen. So monomorphic is the one which we already saw. So here you can see it is all the morphology is similar. There is no change in the morphology. So every QRS complex, if you see, it is the same morphology. So this is monomorphic ventricular or monomorphic. Whenever you see a polymorphic, you can see here the morphology keeps changing. So this is polymorphic ventricular tachycardia. So this is how you have to keep in your mind, because there's a treatment change in the pattern between ventricular tachycardia without pulse, polymorphic ventricular tachycardia, and ventricular fibrillation. Can anybody say what medication you give for a polymorphic ventricular tachycardia? What drug you will do? You will give polymorphic ventricular tachycardia or Porphyris pointis. Magnesium sulfate, very good. So this is how you can learn. You can learn by teaching others. ECG is always teaching. Okay, so whenever there is a ventricular tachycardia onto the monitor, you have to act fast. Otherwise, patient can deteriorate to pulseless ventricular tachycardia. If you don't give the shock, then patient will land up in ventricular fibrillation and patient will die because of cardiac arrest. So again, what rhythm is this? Just a quick one. It's already mentioned. It is ventricular fibrillation. This is how you can see it on the monitor. Immediately you have to shock. There is no question of synchronization here. You have to call for the code blue. Or if you're working in emergency ICU or anesthesia, you can give it. Or if you're there in the ward side, you can raise for the code blue, because you require at least 6 people with you to act upon for these patients. And then highest number of joules, let it be monomorphic or biphasic or monophasic defibrillator, that is not an issue at all. You have to keep to the highest joules, and then no question of consent here. Directly keep the paddles. Only thing is you have to ensure that nobody is touching the patient. You have to mention, I am clear, you're clear, everybody is clear, and then deliver the shock. Now, what is the problem here is, once you deliver the shock, that means that you're pausing the rhythm of the heart. You're making the heart to stop for a few milliseconds. So you have to restart the heart. How will you restart the heart? By doing cardiopulmonary resuscitation. You have to give CPR. Once you give a defibrillation shock, it has to be always followed by CPR. There is no other change in it. So please keep in your mind that after giving shock, I have to give followed by CPR. Now, you have seen the normal sinus rhythm, how to interpret. You have seen how to interpret atrial rhythms. You have seen how to interpret AV nodal block informations and also the ventricular rhythms. Now we will just learn a little bit about the this one, right and the left bundle branch block. So what is, everybody says, I want a 12 lead ECG. Whereas in your monitor, you cannot get a 12 lead ECG. You always get only this one, lead 1, 2, 3. That is small, you can see. Okay. Now what are you going to do with a 12 lead ECG? You can see here how you're going to keep here your leads. So the limb leads and the chest leads. So this is how you're going to place V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, and V6. And then you place your electrodes here, here, and here. So whatever goes from right to left, that is the lead 1, and the right arm to the left leg goes to the lead 2, and from the left leg to the left arm to the left leg is your lead 3. And then the cross sectional, that is between right arm to the left arm, in between is your AVR, and left arm in between your right arm and the left leg is your AVL, and from the in between the right arm and left arm and to the left leg will give you the AVF. So this is how it has been formed when you are seeing the ECG. This is the basic thing which we all have to keep in our mind when we are reading an ECG. When what makes the lead 1, what makes you the lead 2, what makes you the lead 3, how is an AVR, AVL, and an AVF is formed, and all the limb leads, that is V1 to V6. So this is how you can learn an ECG and teach them. So 3 limb leads, that is lead 1, 2, 3. 3 augmented leads, that is AVR, AVL, and AVF. And 6 precardial leads, that is your V1 to V6. So these are the 6 leads, these are the 12 leads which you want in an ECG to make a diagnosis. So to diagnose a myocardial infarction, it's again a different topic. We will see in some other class. I will teach you. Now there are 2 bundle branch blocks usually. One is your right, second is your left. What QRS morphology is characteristic in a right bundle branch block? You can see here in the V1 and V2, this is the R wave which you don't see it normally. So here you can see this is looking like a rabbit ears. In the RBBB, that is right bundle branch block, the wide QRS complexes assumes a unique, virtually diagnostic shape in those cleats overlying to the right ventricle. So overlying on the right ventricle is your V1 and V2. So that is the reason why you see to the V1 and V2. Marrow, that's correct. Okay, so you can see here, this is how it is looking as. So when you see such a type of an ECG, that means that the patient has some kind of a right bundle branch block. So this much of a basic we have to know, so that remaining, whenever you diagnose this, you can hand over the patient to the cardiology department. They will take care of the next one. Now a little bit about left bundle branch block. This is what is a normal one in a V1 and V2 when you see. Now, when you see like this is the pattern. You can see a broad, deep S wave. You cannot see a broad, deep S wave normally. You can see it here. That means that it is left bundle branch block. Left bundle branch block is the wide QRS complexes, assumes a characteristic change in shape in those leads opposite to the left ventricle, that is right ventricular lead, that is V1 and V2. That is opposite to left ventricle is your right ventricle. Again V1 and V2, you're looking into the ECG in the V1 and V2 and you see such a form. There is a broad, deep S wave, then your mind should be saying that, okay, this patient may have a problem with left bundle branch and there can be a block. So this is what is my duty, and this, please mute yourself. So in summary, we should not be worried too much about remembering all these details. When you focus on these ECGs, looking into the 5 patterns, that is the rate, regularity, P wave, PR interval, QRS complexes, you will never miss out any ECG in your life. So I hope this is what we have done for the for this basics of ECG. The remaining things, whatever is there, you can put it in a chat box and we would like to answer you. Thank you very much. So this is what is the ANBAI website, what I was telling. If anybody is not a member of, or your hospital is not a member of ANBAI, you can log into anbai.org. You can get your institution recognized and register yourself. with and by. So these are the board members whom I have put in. We are always ready to be in touch with you all. So thank you very much. Hope it was useful. You can put in your email IDs. Mr. Anthony will send the PowerPoints to you. Thank you all. Any other questions? I would like to take it. Sir, Dr. Muralidhar sir, please.
Yeah, that Srinath,
Yes, sir.
that was a wonderful lecture, very nicely done. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I'm hearing you, sir.
Yeah, it was a wonderful lecture. Actually, Srinath did a good job how to analyze the ECG, taking the basic approach to stepwise approach. First, to look at the rate, then go for the rhythm and regularity, P waves, QR interval, QRS, and look at the ST segment and P wave abnormalities. And one point which I liked, he did mention that we learn by teaching others. And that's a very important statement he made. So when we teach, we automatically learn. And teaching also helps us to earn. And teaching also helps us to treat patients in the right manner. Very important point he has made. And you all know that ECGs and its central plays a central vital role in patients who come with chest pain. There also it's a very extremely important aspect of managing patients. We have to decide whether to give thrombolytic therapy or PCI or manage them separately, or first of all find out whether it's because of heart condition or something. If it's because of heart disease or something else. So all these things are very important. It also tells us about the electrolytes and also drug effects. And patients having arrhythmias, very important to diagnose arrhythmias by the ECG. Without that, we cannot proceed any further. Thank you very much, Srinath, for that excellent talk. I'm just opening the chat box to see if there are any questions. I don't see any questions, but people have all commented that a nice lecture, and thank you. And I don't see any question there. Is there any question there in your chat box? Everybody wants the PPT. So at the end of the lecture, if somebody asks for your PPT, you can take it assured that the lecture was good. That's why they are asking for the PPT.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes. I couldn't see any, locate any questions.
Nobody has asked any questions, sir.
I just want to make a comment that I think we have to also include that acute MI,
Yes, sir.
ST segment analysis. Because the time is short, it could not be covered. I'm sure next time we can concentrate on only acute MI and ST segments, how to analyze the ST segment, because that forms the stem of management of acute coronary syndrome in patients who have chest pain coming to the emergency department. With that comments, I would like to close the session. I didn't find any question there. Actually, everybody seems to have been understood the stuff and they have enjoyed the session. I also enjoyed it. It was a good thing to hear. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank
We will catch up with you sometime next Tuesday. All the best. Keep doing the good work. Take care of yourself. Wear face masks. Maintain social distancing, hand hygiene, cough etiquette. All these things is mandatory for everybody. Thank you very much once again and good luck.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you. Good luck. Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony.
Thank you for facilitating this thing. Only
Thank you,
my
sir.
video
Thank you,
was
sir.
not coming. My video was not coming. I don't know why.
Oh, okay, sir.
Anyway, that's okay. Next time I'll show my face. Thank you.
Thank you one second.